Oh, yeah, I hear you. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, no worries, our discussion.
DSD's online.
Yeah, Dan, it looks like Dan and Tricia are online. And we have, is it Michael?
Oh, I heard somebody say hello.
Yeah, that was Tricia, I am muted. I think that's it, just staff, and then we have the applicants here.
Okay. Let me find this one. Where's it at? Thank you for being so patient. I apologize for. It's very warm outside. You, Robert and Nancy? Perfect.
It's still hotter out there. The temperature's not over 100 yet. It's the sun.
It is really hot.
What do they say, 105 today?
Yeah, wait for about 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
I need to leave early so I can get home and be in my house.
There you go. And I want to leave early so I won't run out of gas.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're good.
Okay, we're getting there now.
Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon. It is Thursday, July 30th. Commissioner Van Beek, Commissioner White. We are here in the Commissioner's meeting room. Monica Reeves is doing our deputy clerk duties. And we are here for a public hearing. And this is to consider a request by Robert and Nancy Weichel for a rezone, and that's case number RZ 2019-0042. We do have an action item afterwards, and we will consider that as well. At this time, I have Nancy signed up to testify, and Robert, you are not. Okay, very good. So we'll have Monica swear you in and staff in. Dan Lister from our DSD department, the planner, he is with us. Tricia Nielsen, who is the director of our DSD department, she has joined us through WebEx as well. So at this time, Monica will swear you in.
Nancy Weichel, Dan Lister, Tricia Nielsen, do you swear or affirm testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? So help you God?
I do.
Okay. Okay, Dan, thank you. You're
All
on.
right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Commissioner Van Beek. Dan Lister from Canyon County Development Services. Before you is a request by the Weichels for a rezone from an agricultural zone to an R1 zone. Just to give you a little history on this, there's no splits available on this property. It's already been divided. Ms. Weichel came in with a full rezone to an R1 zone with this conceptual plan, basically 6 lots, 4.6 7 acres would be surrounding her existing house, and then the rest would be divided off acre to acre and a quarter around the area. Staff advised her early on to seek out a development agreement instead because the R1 zone ultimately could allow up to 10 lots. And staff didn't feel that was commensurate with that area, but if she did a development agreement locking it down to at least 6 as shown on her conceptual plan, that might be doable. So she did go through that, tabled the first initial hearing so it could be renoticed, and it went through the process. So before you is a request with a development agreement to lock it down to 6 lots only. This would have an average lot size of 1.7 acres. This slide here shows the current zoning. As you see, the property is zoned residential. However, it is within an area that has a lot of rural residential zones, as you see nearby it, and also an R1 zone just south of it. It is very close to the city impact area of Middleton. It's just outside of it, but it is, as you see on the future land use plan, in a growth area. This is an area designed to allow for future growth just outside the impact area, where it is possible in the future where the city may want to expand their impact area that way, which is very possible very soon. To the left here on this slide is the subdivisions within a 1 mile radius, and as you can see, just within the boundaries of the property, there are existing subdivisions. Within that 1 mile radius, you see an average lot size of 1.71, which is commensurate with what is being requested is commensurate with the subdivisions within that 1 mile radius. To the right is a vicinity map. You can see the type of parcels within that area. You can see it's adjacent to other parcels, 2 acres or less in size, and across the street from a lot larger parcels that are more commensurate with the agricultural zones. To the left here is, as you can see, this is in a nitrate priority area. So as this application goes through the platting process, they will have to meet Southwest District Health and DEQ's requirements regarding well and septic uses within a nitrate priority area. The designations you see within the that nitrate priority map does show that there's some wells that show nitrates in the water. However, they don't exceed DEQ's requirements for treatment. Below is the soils maps, which, as you can see, this is best suited soil for agricultural use. When talking to the applicant, she says they have not ever used this for agricultural use. This is more for horses. They've had horses and similar animals off and on, but mostly horses, and that's what they see continuing on that area. That's why the parcel sizes will lend to people who purchase it can have horses on it, which would maintain what they currently use it for. To the right, as you see, this is in an A zone. It's a floodplain that it does not have base flood elevation. Going through the platting process, the applicant will have to go through the base flood determination requirements and identify where the base flood elevation is, so development can meet floodplain standards with base flood elevation data. Comments received, we received comments from Canyon Highway District. They are requesting that all access come off Connie Lane. Existing access off Emmett Road is not allowed and should be abandoned. After talking to Canyon Highway District 4, they do have means of variances that they can approve for at least keeping the existing access and then have all the other access as part of development go through Connie Lane. So the applicant does have options, but our development agreement will lock it down to working with the Canyon Highway District either by meeting their requirements or getting that variance. The Middleton Fire District had no negative comments about this rezone. They would be able to work with the applicant as they go through the plotting process to meet any of their requirements. IDWR floodplain NFIP coordinator is the one who kind of stressing that they really do need a base flood elevation study and determination based on FEMA's requirements as well as our code. The applicant knows this and has been added to the the development agreement that is complied with. We did receive a letter from Mr. and Mrs. Blum. They feel that this area is still rural and request that this actually be rezoned to a rural residential zone instead of R1. Again, the applicant's only asking for 6 lots, 1.7 average acre lot size. So it really is not that much different from the 2 acres that they're asking. They would be able to have. The difference is the 6 lots is somewhat attainable in this area. Going through the plating process, they're going to have to probably do some dedications and adding of roads, which, let's go back to this slide that shows their conceptual plan. This conceptual plan most likely won't look like that. That's why staff is not adding it as part of the development agreement. We're just locking it down to 6 lots so they can work with other agencies to come up with a better scenario that works with better the road system that they're going to have to put in and things like that. With that being said, if they go with a rural residential zone, they're most likely only going to get about 4 lots out of it. It's 10 acres, so 2 acres is really 5, but with road and things like that, it may knock it down to 4. And with the type of development improvements or identifications they're going to have to do for floodplain with roads, it may be cost prohibitive for this applicant to go through that just for 4 lots. The 6 lots allows them to work with the agencies, and if during that process they find out they can only have 5, then it at the end would meet the 2 acre average lot size. But it gives the applicant wiggle room and locks it down with a development agreement. So staff doesn't see an issue with that. However, during the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission found that they felt also that it's still a rural residential zone area and recommended denial, requesting that it stay rural residential if they want to rezone. After talking to the applicant, they really want to push for these 6 lots, but if the board feels the same way as the Planning and Zoning Commission about this, they're fine with going with the rural residential zone. If we go with that route, we would have to table this to renotice it as a rural residential zone. But I'll let the board decide first before we go through that route. Staff is recommending approval of this, subject to the conditions as you see, not to exceed 6 residential lots. They have to work with Canyon Highway District. They have to do the floodplain base flood elevation study. They have to work with Black Canyon Irrigation District, especially crossing the canal that is separating Connie Road from the property. So they would have to work on that. So there's a lot of little improvements that they're going to have to work with other agencies to make as part of the plating process. So this would definitely come back before the board and with those type of that information. Additionally, staff did a site visit, and staff did find that the property does have some public nuisances on the site based on outside storage, and the applicant realized it does have that issue out there. So as part of the plating process, in between going through it and getting that approved, they will work on abating that issue out there. With that, staff is recommending approval and open to answer any questions.
Dan, I have one question. Was the 6 lot, that drawing, conceptual drawing, was the 6 lot, was that presented to Planning and Zoning?
Yes.
Okay, and Planning and Zoning, knowing that it with roads and everything, it would possibly reduce it to 5.
Correct.
But they still rejected it because they want. Was one of their reasons behind it that there is a possibility that it could be eventually put into 10 lots?
No, they already no, to the chair, no. The development agreement was part of it, locking it down. Using this map here, I think they saw what was nearby. There's an older subdivision adjacent to the north, and then there's a somewhat newer subdivision to the west, and those are all 2 acres. And so they felt it was more commensurate with those adjacent subdivisions that are 2 acres. Yeah.
Okay, very good. But there is one 4 acre. 4.7, there's one of them that is a big one that their house will stay on. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Were you done?
Well, I just had one more, and that was about the access And they are, I know that was expressed by the applicant, they've been using Emmett Road as access and wondered why, but I think I heard you say that Highway District 4 is going to allow them, because they're going to allow them to use it, but the other lots have to use Connie.
So yes, through the chair, just to explain that. So the letter from Canyon Highway District was very strong about them using only Connie Lane and getting off of the existing road, Emmett Road. However, the platting process allows them to see the finished product, which at that point, the applicant could request a variance for their 4.7 acre lot. Or try to get a waiver from that highway district for at least that lot, and then the rest would have to go through Connie Lane. So there is a mechanism. We're locking it down to what they're asking for, but they can, as part of that agreement, they could work with the highway district, and the highway district can provide us that approval at the end of the day that would satisfy our agreement.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Commissioner Van Beek.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dan, I'm looking at the same map that the chair is looking at, and there's also some concerns. I wanted you to talk a little bit about the above-ground septic that was referenced farther back in the report. And before you comment, I wanted to ask if there was any thought given to changing not the number of lots, but the size of the lot. And so because of the abatement issues that have existed on this property, and those are problematic, I'm a little bit leery about granting larger lot sizes where there's been abatement issues that are public nuisances. So if we reallocated the sizes and put those 5 at an acre and a half, took that 0.15 acre off of those 2 northwestern lots, and then left 2.5 acres for the applicant, that would help mitigate for the high groundwater and the above ground sewer, so that would provide more space to plan for septics on there that may mitigate some of the concerns by the blooms. And then it would reduce the amount of acreage for, that the collection of things that sometimes can be problematic. So I'll let you address that.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the concerns too from one of the commissioners is about the water table and then some of the septic issues where it might be something where the applicant would want to look at larger lots and maybe knock down a lot or something to meet some of those requirements. Again, the development agreement locks it down to 6, but more than likely during the platting stage, they may not get the 6. They may only get 5 because of some of those issues that they would have to address as part of the pre-application review and the engineering report that they have to provide to Southwest District Health, including a nitrate nutrient pathogen study. So a lot of that stuff would be addressed, and it could determine the sizing of lots and what they look like at the end of the day.
And the other thing, Dan, on leaving that one bigger lot, what I read on the testimony from the applicant is that they're wanting to have less property to manage, and so that's still 5 acres is a large portion to manage. And so the water table, but it's also in conjunction with the mitigation and the abatement issues that we're looking at that would make me hesitant to approve something that didn't, we had a land use hearing we discussed earlier today, Madam Chair, that gave it a certain acreage just to make sure that there was enough room to navigate on there for certain things. So I'm not comfortable with that, I guess, and I don't know, maybe this isn't the right place to.
We should hear from the applicant, first.
Okay.
But just Exhibit 9, I think is where the applicant is very willing to work together with the county and both P&Z and the Board of Commissioners to make the change if we so desire. So
And Madam Chair, I have one more. On that 4.7 acres, they could still conceivably come back on a different application and divide that out into 4 lots at some point in the future. Is that right?
Well, Exhibit 9, they say we are willing to accept the suggestion from the board at the P and Z June 17th meeting to change our lot split from 6 lots to 4 lots. This will make all the lots 2 acres or larger. So,
Including that big one, Dan?
Yeah, and so I know the conceptual plan is before you, but it's not part of the development agreement. It's something they came up with this, maybe this would work. However, that's why we didn't that's why staff didn't add that as to the development agreement, because that's probably going to change a lot as they're going through the planning process. It's most likely not going to be a 4.7 acre lot, and those other lots most likely are going to get bigger. Just because of some of the stuff they're going to have to meet. So that's why staff didn't lock it down to any design or anything. It's just locking it down to a amount of lots. And from there, it can get a lot smaller. Yeah, so it's really not locking it down to that. I just don't want you to focus on that. It's really about how many lots they're asking and if it's feasible to the board. Is that too much or that just right, knowing that they're going to have to come back before the plating process and prove up a lot of stuff.
okay, very good. Thank you, Dan. Anything further?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for your input. No.
Okay. Nancy, if you would please have a seat up there, and we need your name and address on the record.
You're better with my mask down.
Yeah, you're fine.
Nancy Weichel, 25193 Emmett Road, Caldwell, Idaho.
Okay, very good. So tell us what your hopes and dreams are for this property.
Well, our hope is to be able to sell off a few acres to help finish paying off what we have and be able to manage what we have too. We need to build a big storage area for our hay and for our equipment. You know, like Dan says, we need to clean up that area, but we need someplace to go with that. And into doing that, we've been looking at large buildings, but it's not feasible for us to do that right now. So it's more or less sell off a few acres so that we can manage what we have and keep it nice looking.
So do you raise horses?
We don't raise, we enjoy horses. We have raised some, but we don't raise and sell them. My grandkids live with us.
Oh, okay.
And so they ride in the Akapa Bareback Riders. So there's a lot of activity of riding horses. They trail ride from the house and they just enjoy.
So you know the Greenwoods?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. Very good.
Mini princess this year.
Yes, yes. Okay. So your preference, well, I guess, Commissioner Van Beek, do you have questions?
Well, yeah, I might have. So I want you to talk a little bit about the property having to be abated and what's there. And I guess if you sell these, it wouldn't be to family. It would be just to whoever is interested in locating in an area of impact outside the city. Impact
It'll probably be kind of both.
Okay.
Our son needs a place to build a small place to live on. He's a single person and he's on disability, so $1,000 a month rent is pretty tough out of somebody on disability. So right now he's living with us.
Yeah.
So we have a pretty full household. But and our daughter that's living with us with the grandkids, she would like to have her own place. So it's kind of a combo of both. But we want to sell some too. The developer that is developing just to the south of us, he has 1 acre lots, and we talked to him when he was cleaning his up, and he said, well, he says, if you can get something closer to 1 acre, I might be interested. And that was where we went with the 1 acre size, because it was like, oh, well, he might, because he has several lots there that he's going to develop, and then he might pick up a couple of ours. So it's kind of a combo of both.
Pardon me.
But we're looking at X amount of dollars after it's all over to do some improvements and finish paying off our place.
Okay. And all those are fine and they fall within personal property rights.
Yeah.
It becomes problematic and there's pros and cons on both sides. If you get you know, a family that is comfortable with a certain level of clutter. If they go to develop around it in an area of growth, then it's difficult for neighbors to manage that if they have to get a civil proceeding involved. So more than who buys it, I'm looking for how it's going to be maintained, because that's where the county has to look out for the interests of all citizens. And so I would want commitment that it's not going to be in a position where there has to be abatement. It becomes expensive for the county and for taxpayers. So
And that can be written into subdivision agreement too. And as I thought about the horse part, you know, we would need to include in there that they have X amount of animals on their property, because a smaller piece obviously can't have a ton of animals on it, or that becomes an issue too. So some of that stuff would need to be put into the development agreement and the agreement when they purchase.
And see, I think it is condition C, Dan, on the approval for rezone, conditions of approval. Under number 2, condition C, prior to approval of any future development.
Correct. So a future development is platting in this case. So at the time of platting, they have to prove that up. They have to prove that they are either working on it to, by the time it gets to final, when you guys are signing it, it's done, or they have had it, that they're ready to do that, or they have it done before submittal. So it gives them time to work on it, but we're not approving anything based on this agreement until it's done.
Right. Right. So the abatement is not an issue for us today. The rezone is what is before us. Because the abatement is taken care of with the development agreement.
Madam Chair, just to give you a history a little bit on that violation. So it's not a violation that has been, our code enforcement has written up on this property. It's something when staff did the site visit, we noticed there's some, agricultural type of uses out there which wouldn't count as a public nuisance, but there was abandoned cars and storages and stuff where that would need to be fixed. And it wasn't a huge amount. It was just up at the front of Emmett that would need to be cleaned up. And so that it should be something too difficult to abate prior to any type of platting approvals.
Very good. Thank you, Dan.
And Madam Chair, one more, I guess, just comment, and we're allowing the applicant to respond. So that probably is where the need for storage comes in. You indicated a need for some type of a place to put your things, and maybe, I get that.
Yeah, and that's what we're working on. Some of the stuff out there we just are going to get rid of.
Okay.
It's stuff he brought home when he worked at Fred Meyer's, and he originally planned on building stuff with it, but his time has not allowed that. So it's probably 50-50 out there. Half is construction stuff and half farm stuff.
I'm funny about personal property rights just because I realize that the land is, to some people, it's everything they have. It's your retirement, it's everything. It's your health insurance and all of that. So I'm asking, I see that our staff has approved this and it's a development agreement that no more than 6 lots, but you said you're willing if we wanted to go to a 4 lot. But I need to ask you if financially, this is your property and everything you have, is that a deal breaker for you? If we say, well, you know what, we're gonna, because you said you would do that, but will you be able to accomplish with your property what you need to get done?
Well, our son won't get his own place.
Oh, okay.
We can't give a 2-acre lot to him, but that's okay. I mean, it's something that we can work around. We need to be able to sell off 2 lots to do what we want on ours.
Okay.
So if we're limited to 4 lots, then we will sell off 2, and then we'll reserve the 3rd one for if we had to, but would not sell it off right away, because we'd just go one step at a time we would plat it for the way it needed to be platted, but we would just do one step at a time.
Thank you. Thank you for your honesty on that, too. Any more questions for?
No, just that, Dan, it sounds like that the Southwest District needs to have the opportunity, and the Highway District, to look at how this lays out to make that determination.
Yeah.
Through the chair, correct. And so, there's mechanisms in place for that as they go through the plating process. So when it comes before the board for preliminary plat approval, you would see those. It probably wouldn't make it to you if they didn't have it. So. Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Weichel.
Thank you. And we're very well aware that Southwest District Health has to play an important part in the wells and the septic and the septic.
Okay.
We know that needs to happen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see, and Mr. Weichel, you wish not to testify? No? Okay.
I would say one thing.
You'll have to come up here if you're going to do that, because we have to make sure you're on the record. And we did not swear you in, so we will do that too. But we're welcome. We want you to say whatever you need to say, absolutely. So Monica?
Robert Weichel, do you swear or affirm the testimony you'll give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? So help you God?
I do.
Very good.
The only thing that, that talked about the cleanup and everything, and it could be done in a week, they're cleaned up. It sounded like there's this giant mess and everything. It's construction. I had a construction company for 40 years, and bunks of plywood and wood and stuff like that, but there's no cars or nothing like that. And a good bit of it is farm implements too.
Those are hard to make look nice, Madam Chair.
Yeah. And Dan was said that too, that it would be very doable. It's not a big major thing. Very doable.
That's the point there. It's not. It's one of those things that put on the burner and haven't got to.
Sure.
Thank you for your clarification.
I've got a few of those things too. So.
We are not allowed to go out as commissioners, so we have to kind of visualize what's presented, sure. And I appreciate you providing clarification on that. What's that?
That's all I had.
Okay, thank you very much. Nancy, yes, you can.
So I did want to allude to that the reason we are wanting to get our place paid off, cleaned up, simplified, is because we're getting older. I want to retire. I've worked at West Valley for 17 years now, and I'm ready to cut back. And so that's part of this overall plan, is so that I can spend more time at home.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I don't have any further comments. Are you ready for a motion? Mm-hmm. I move that we close public testimony.
And I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I will just say that I appreciate the work that staff has done. I appreciate the information that came forth at this hearing today. Thank you, Dan, for the work that you've done and the explanations. It's been very clear. And I appreciate the Weichels. They've been very straightforward on what they're going to do. And your property, it's very important for you accomplishing what needs to be done. And I am fine with the development agreement limiting this to 6 lots. I am good with that, with the conditions that are in here. And so, Commissioner Van Beek?
Madam Chair, thank you for your comments. I support what you're saying. I think this has been well laid out by staff. We've had good testimony from the Weichels on why they want to do what they want to do, and you are correct. That's one of the primary things that we look at as a personal property right. And with the agencies that have yet to weigh in and the due diligence that needs to be done on the property, those issues that are addressed in staff report as areas of concern will be taken care of at the time of planning. So,
yes.
Are you ready for a motion?
Absolutely.
Okay, then I move that we approve the conditional rezone for RZ 2019 20-0042 from A to R line agricultural, and the findings of facts and conclusions of law and order, the ordinance that accompanies that, which is ordinance number 20-022, and the accompanying development agreement, and that agreement number is 20-105 as presented by staff.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Dan, are we good?
We're good. You have everything to sign, so.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your presentation. And thank
And
you
Monica,
so much for
I'll send Kathy your way.
For the notary.
Oh, very good. Thank you. That will conclude this hearing. Thank you very much for taking the time to be here today, and good luck to you.
Yes.
You betcha.
We're not talking license. I'll let Kathy know when she gets here that you'll